everyone for being here. And it is 6 o'clock on the dot. We have an appointment with you and we are glad to have you here. So my name is Jana Truman. I am the managing broker for Excel Commercial Real Estate. And many of you are repeat visitors and we're happy to have you. We have a commercial real estate team here in Nashville, Tennessee. We understand we're going to have some people from other parts of the country tonight, and we're excited to have you and maybe get a little bit of a flavor of Nashville. We are really happy to have our two speakers with us tonight. We have Lauren Weibert, who is a mindset transformational coach, and we have Chad Sutton, who is one of the principals of Quattro Capital, and his story is a really fun story, and I can't wait for you to hear from him. But first, we're going to hear from Lauren. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about us as a team. Brian and I are husband and wife, and we have 2 administrative staff and 6 other agents in a growing boutique commercial real estate firm. Everybody on our team has a primary and a secondary specialty, and we help people buy, sell, and lease commercial real estate. But we are really known for real estate education. Our goal is to break down the barriers for education and opportunity for people to invest in commercial real estate. We help people through that entire process from their first purchase all the way to where they develop a portfolio. We believe that people, given the choice, will work with people who are honest, have integrity, who have good negotiation skills, and who are going to help guide them, because we believe that people truly do want to create generational wealth, and that is what we're all about. We want to help people have the freedom in their lifestyle to be able to do the things for themselves and also to be able to leave a legacy. And because it's not always just about us. And so we want to be able to teach people how to go through that process. But in my family of origin, I'm the oldest of 7 children. And when I grew up, it was a pretty common thing. My dad would, when he saw somebody who had money, I would call the educated poor. My dad has 2 master's degrees and very, very bright. My mother was extremely well read, graduated from the Conservatory of Music in Toronto. But we grew up in a traditional middle class family. My dad grew up with some interesting mindsets about money, and he would see somebody with money and he'd say, well, isn't that nice that they have that, and anytime anybody had something nice, it was there was always a snide comment about that, and it was like it was somehow out of reach and not for us, that kind of a thing. And I had a really great thing happen to me when I turned 12. My mom basically said, I am no longer going to buy you clothes. I will give you fabric. I will teach you how to sew. But if you want brand new clothes, and if you're a tweener girl getting ready to go in that, obviously clothes are everything. And I remember thinking how horrible my mom was for her doing that to me and for me. And it took me for a long time for me to realize that was actually a huge gift. And really and truly, inadvertently, she didn't know what she was doing, but she was breaking a cycle that had I not had that experience, I would not be in the position that I am today. And I know Lauren's going to talk more about that, but I'm going to let her tell a little bit about her and how she's arrived in this journey. And then I'm going to dig in on some of these questions, because I know you're all dying to know how to get out of that poverty mindset and to be able to put yourself in a place to where you can actually have the mindset of money. So tell us about you.
Thank you. I love that introduction, because that sounds like the house I grew up in too. Mom, Dad, if you're watching, I love you. Thank you for everything. But people are just doing the best they can with what they have. And generationally, in my family of origin, I was taught you have to work hard, which I'm super thankful for. I have a great work ethic, but it was money's not going to come unless you work really, really hard. So I grew up, I went to college, I earned my degree in biblical studies and elementary education, and I became a school teacher. And 3 years full-time into that, I decided that the salary I was offered for the 4th year when I moved back to Iowa was not worth my time and the 2 degrees and multiple certifications that I possessed. In 2006, that was 15.5 annually.
Holy moly.
So I became a quasi entrepreneur. I figured I can make a lot more money working part-time, serving and bartending. And so that's exactly what I did. There wasn't a whole lot of fulfillment in that. So eventually I got that tug to go back into the professional world. I do love the restaurant industry, but for me personally, I wanted to be doing something more than bringing people spaghetti and hoping that they have a wonderful meal. So I dabbled back into the world of teaching and thought, absolutely not. That's changing so much in the elementary world. And luckily, not luckily, nothing happens in this world by luck. It's all by law, which I'll get into later. But I found myself as an insurance agent with an insurance company. I did that for 7 years. Ended up hitting some ceilings and feeling unfulfilled again. Transitioned to real estate for about a year and thought, what have I done? This is also not for me. And when I finally decided to listen to what was buried deep inside of my heart, I went into what I had wanted to pursue since 2015, which was coaching. It takes that perfect blend of, hey, I do want to teach, but I also want to be paid well for that. And so I have been a coach. I call myself a mindset transformation coach, but I don't get too hung up on semantics. People say, are you a life coach? Are you a business coach? And I say, doesn't matter. As long as you know that I can help you, that's the most important thing. But what we really, really do is focus on mindset. There's a lot of coaches out there that want to help people change their behavior, but you only get temporary changes if you're just changing the things on the outside. Strategy is 5%. Mindset is the other 95%. So we work on mindset.
So that brings me to my first question.
Yes.
So in my opinion, most of us are our own worst enemy. And in fact, I had a meeting yesterday for our team meeting. And I told the team, I have one superpower, and my one and only superpower is that I know that I'm weak. I have the willpower of a toddler. Meaning that I know that if I'm going to set myself up for success, I have to make it super easy for myself. And part of that is that preparation for mindset. So I know I'm my own worst enemy. I cannot be the only one. Can you speak to that? And
well, if you keep enforcing the thought that you have the mindset of a toddler or the willpower of a toddler, you're going to keep seeing that. So tell yourself.
Okay, so I will knock it off.
Yeah,
okay.
Cut it out, Jana. Okay. You're welcome.
Duly noted.
For the free coaching.
Team, you heard it here.
Yes.
She can be taught.
Tell yourself something more supportive, but
okay. So I like to make it easy for me to be able to keep my habits. That's really what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay.
So you, instead of saying I have the willpower of a toddler, you could say I have the willpower of a successful, powerful businesswoman. That's what I see when I look at you.
Okay.
But how does this pertain to the mindset of money? Well, you hit the nail on the head. We are our own worst enemy because of the stories that we tell ourselves inside. There's a lot of really rotten things, especially around that concept of money, that we continue to reinforce and reinforce and reinforce. And if thoughts truly become things, then whatever we're telling ourselves is what's going to show up in our 3D world. And when I say thoughts become things, that means there's a scientific process behind that. This is the human experience. This is not, we live in 3 different planes: the physical, the intellectual, and the spiritual, and all of those line up. And no matter where you go throughout history, you're going to hear every psychologist, every scientist, every thought leader, every religious leader saying the same thing, which is thoughts become things. We become what we think about. As a man thinketh, so shall he be. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. These are people from all over history saying these things. And how does it work? Thoughts control our emotions. Our emotions cause us to act. Actions set up the reaction in the outside world, and then we get our results. So if we don't like our results, if we don't like the things that are showing up in the outside world, we can't just change our behavior. We have to go back to the beginning and change all of the pieces of it. Then the behavior is not forced because we'll be in the right mindset, which will put the emotions and the body into action, and the rest is history.
Well, I look at that, for example, with me with stress. For a long time, I believed that stress was a bad thing. And one of the ways that I changed my mindset on that, and this is part of a phrase that you heard in the real estate world is no pressure, no diamonds. And I learned that pressure is a privilege. In other words, I have a lot of people who depend on me for employment, my family, etc. And isn't it wonderful that I get to have that?
Yeah.
And the reality is that stress makes me better, not worse.
Right.
Some people think of stress as the enemy, and I look at that as the stress is a privilege.
It's all in the way that you choose to interpret it.
Exactly. And so for me, I'm usually at my best when the pressure is the greatest, because I have the ability to keep my mind clean and clear and not be triggered when I'm in stress. And I absolutely attribute that to the mindset that I have. However, I know I have a lot of myths.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the myths is that all stress is bad. We know that that's a myth.
Right.
What are some of the myths when it comes to mindset and of money?
I mean, we've heard them all. We could probably turn the microphones back on and ask every single person on here, what was something that you were taught in your childhood about money? Well, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to earn money.
There's a finite amount.
We might run out of money. Yep. What else?
I can't afford it.
Yeah, I can't afford it. That's one of the worst things you can say. Working harder gets more results. That's the theme that I see all the time. I don't deserve it. Gosh, my own mom would tell me things like, Lauren, you have a champagne taste and a beer pocketbook. You don't even have a beer pocketbook. You have a water pocketbook. And I said, I have a champagne work ethic. Well, you need to watch your spending. You're terrible with money. I mean, these are the things that just got reinforced over and over and over again. And they're toxic to getting the things that we really want.
Right.
The other belief that I see a lot, especially coming from the type of upbringing that I had, was that it's somehow like you're not a good person if you end up with a lot of money. Like rich people are terrible.
Mean bad people, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like what your dad was saying, like,
ooh, yeah. Who do they think they are?
Right.
Yeah. Which is totally wrong, by the way. I've met a lot of really wonderful people that have money, that just happen to have money.
There are some terrible people who have money too.
And they're terrible poor people. So money is not that.
Money is not, the defining factor. Right. All money is energy. And all money does for a person is magnify who you already are. So that being said, if you're a really wonderful, amazing, philanthropic, heart-powered person, you should find ways to earn more money.
Right.
Because
we call that, we want to increase our standard of living so we can increase our standard of giving.
That's a wonderful way to look at it. Or a rising tide moves all ships.
Right.
Yes. Right. When we align and fix the inside workings of ourselves and start producing the results that we want, then we can influence others. There's no